All right, this you have to see. Just another complete humiliation for the former president, Donald Trump, who has been hyping up or had been hyping up a press conference for yesterday morning, during which he was going to make a major announcement. Right-wing news network Newsmax hyped it up. Fox News talked about it a little bit, but not nearly as much. It leaked. The press conference would be Trump announcing that he is suing, filing a class action lawsuit against Facebook, against Twitter, against Google, because they banned him. And the event was so humiliating and so absurd that Fox News even cut away from it while Trump was answering questions. Let's look at some clips, starting with the big announcement from the former president.
I'm filing as the lead class representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, as well as their CEOs, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai.
Sundar Pichai. That is really, really something else there.
And God bless the United States.
Yeah. Just a little more here.
And Jack Dorsey.
Okay, so that's the big announcement. Trump is really, really mad that he's not allowed to tweet. And so he's suing everybody. And of course, it's an embarrassment that he's even doing this. I mean, everything, including even like, see how he has, it sort of looks like the presidential lectern, but it's not. It's kind of like a low rent copy of it. But where it really gets embarrassing is the guy just doesn't understand the First Amendment. He just doesn't get it.
The founding fathers inscribed this right in the very First Amendment to our Constitution because they knew that free speech is essential to the prevention of horror.
Horror. That's H-A-H-R-R-A-H, if you're wondering.
And to the preservation of our republic.
This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. There is just nothing here related to the First Amendment. And later, we're actually going to hear from Alan Dershowitz, who wants to try to say this is a First Amendment thing. This has nothing to do with the First Amendment. These are private companies with terms of service. And I don't want to get ahead of myself. We'll wait for the we'll wait for the Dershowitz thing. Somehow, at this event about Trump suing Facebook and Twitter, he ends up criticizing Dr. Fauci.
A lot of people ask me about Dr. Fauci. I like Dr. Fauci. I actually get along with him great. But they said, why didn't you fire him? I said, no, he was good. He'd recommend something. I do the opposite. And we always turned out to be right.
So I don't even know how that came up. And then at this point, Fox News just cut away. If you tuned to Fox, you no longer saw this. You instead saw a really important story where Jason Chaffetz was talking about the origins of COVID. Okay. Trump was then asked about what happened on January 6th. And the question was a good one. The framing was, well, the reason you ended up banned from these platforms was because of what you did on January 6th, inciting violence and all this different stuff. So what is your reaction to the fact that that's what you did? Do you wish you had done that differently? And somehow Trump ends up talking about Antifa.
Just to clarify, who should be the arbiter of what's hate, what's offensive, what should not be published, what goes beyond free speech?
Yeah.
And because so much of this, your banning has to do with comments you made around January 6th, just to clarify further, what did you do to stop the insurrection, as some people call it?
Right.
And why were you not able to stop it?
So that whole unfortunate event, just went through Congress and a report.
It was an unfortunate event, guys. That's all, right? That's all it was.
Stand back and stand by.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Was issued and my name wasn't even mentioned. And I appreciate that. I was surprised, frankly, because I would have assumed that they would have come up with their typically biased, at least on the Democrat side, statement. The report came out, as you saw, 2 weeks ago. My name wasn't even mentioned. That was an unfortunate event. I say, though, however, people are being treated unbelievably unfairly.
So Trump is saying the perpetrators are being treated unfairly. He's asked, what did you do to stop it? Which is, indirectly reminding us that he fomented it. And he says, it was unfortunate, but the people who did the stuff are being treated really unfairly. They're the victims here.
When you look at people in prison and nothing happens to Antifa, and they burned down cities and killed people.
Antifa.
There were no guns in the Capitol.
That's not
they
true.
They burned, except for the gun that shot Ashley Babbitt. And nobody knows who that man were. If that were the opposite way.
This is Trump, by the way, continuing to try to dox that officer.
That man would be all over. He would be the
guy's been cleared. You know, it's funny because when they when there's a situation where the left is saying, hey, this officer acted inappropriately, they immediately say, no, these officers, we have to defer to their judgment. They're in positions of danger, etc. Here, there was an investigation and it determined that the officer did not act inappropriately in shooting Ashley Babbitt, which was tragic regardless. But of course, she shouldn't have been there. Now, all of a sudden, Trump wants the guy doxxed, if you can imagine.
Most well-known, and I believe I can say man, because I believe I know exactly who it is.
Uh-oh.
But he would be the most well-known person in this country, in the world. But the person that shot Ashley Babbitt, boom, right through the head, just boom. There was no reason for that. And why isn't that person being opened up? And why isn't that being
open him up? Just take a scalpel to him and open him up. So Trump somehow ends up talking about, you know, Antifa and who knows what else. And then this is sort of like Trump's new line, which really applies to himself. And I don't think that he really gets it.
If you say it long enough, hard enough, often enough.
Yeah.
People will start to believe it.
True.
That's what happened with Russia. That's what happened with Ukraine. That's what happened with, well, the worst is when they don't say it. Like the laptop from hell.
That laptop from hell still really bothering Trump. And it is true. If Trump repeats that he won the election long enough, and if the people around him start to repeat it, people start to believe it. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Now, let's just briefly go back to the First Amendment thing. Here is Alan Dershowitz, who has bizarrely become a big defender of Trump over the last few years, saying this really is an important First Amendment case. Listen to this.
Understanding is you have some of the tobacco attorneys involved in that class action suit involved in this case. Seems like a strong case, but obviously nothing is a slam dunk.
This is the most important First Amendment case of the 21st century, and it's important because it pits freedom of speech on the one hand against the First Amendment on the other hand. That may sound paradoxical, but remember, it's the high-tech giants that are banning freedom of speech. They are censoring, but they're claiming the right to do so under the First Amendment. So
this is maybe the biggest distortion I could imagine about this story. OK, so Dershowitz wants to claim this is about whose First Amendment speech is trumps the other. Does Trump have a First Amendment right to post to Twitter and Facebook and Google, which are private companies? Or do Facebook, Twitter and Google have a right not only under the First Amendment, but also under business regulation law, which Republicans are quick to defend when it's other situations, to enforce terms of service? So it is not actually a First Amendment case. That is the big lie with this lawsuit, is that this is really the First Amendment versus free speech and censorship. It's not. It is not that. This is quite simply Republicans who say don't regulate business now want the government to force Twitter to allow Trump to tweet. That is fundamentally what this is about. And it's outrageous. And the entire event was humiliating. It's going nowhere. It's going absolutely nowhere. One of the best ways that you can support what we do at the David Pakman Show is supporting some of our awesome sponsors. Today, one of those awesome sponsors is Sheath Underwear. A lot of us know all too well about the sticking and the rubbing and the chafing with traditional underwear, especially this time of year as the weather is getting warm. Sheath Underwear have created unique boxer briefs with multiple ergonomic compartments in the front, preventing skin-on-skin contact. Everything stays separate, comfortable, dry, and cool. No more sweatiness, no more chafing, no more readjusting. It's a lifesaver. Sheath Underwear is giving the David Pakman Show audience 20% off when you go to sheathunderwear.com/Pakman and use the promo code Pakman. Give Sheath Underwear a shot. I've had a great experience. I believe you will too. You can find the link underneath this video, and don't forget to use promo code Pakman for 20% off.